Hello guys and welcome back to this channel. Today I want to continue to talk about my own training. Few of you say it in the comments that you like to see my progression, so I'm really grateful that you have an interest in this topic. And today I want to talk about the second type of training. On my previous video I was talking about volume training, when I do a lot of repetitions with a small distance and with a short recovery. And today is more like intensity training. However, as you can see in this stage, it's about like 3-4 weeks when while I'm training. On this stage it's still more like a volume training as well, but intensity is gonna rise slowly during the next few months. So one of my last training like this was 70 meters 6 times. So I do 70 meters, it's actually 77. Because again our pool is 22 meters, so when I stop in the middle I do 3 lengths and stop in the middle, it is a 77 meters. So it is a 6 times, and then between these attempts I have relatively long rest. I think it's like about by the way, I have a second cat, so now I have 2 cats. So it's about 4 or 5 minutes rest. I don't really control it, I just like checking, but it's about 5 minutes rest. 4 or 5 minutes rest, it's enough for me to not be affected on my next attempt by my previous attempt, right? I think you got my idea. So it's relatively easy. And then progression over the next few sessions is going to be, my next sessions like that is going to be 70 meters 8 times and then 70 meters 10 times, and this is going to be the maximum volume. So if you do simple math, then you will see that it is 700 meters. I'm probably gonna stop at that because otherwise the session is going to be too long, and I don't want to make my breath hold session too long. I do some swimming after that, but my breath hold session I want to keep it about an hour and maybe less. So let's see if it's going to be possible to squeeze more attempts within 1 hour. I'm going to do it, but I think it's going to be 10 times. And when I reach 10 times 70 meters, this is going to be the highest volume. And after that I'm going to increase the distance and decrease amount of repetition. So for example, I'm going to probably do a couple of times this 70 meters 10 times, and then I'm going to do 80 meters 8 times. So the distance total is going to be 640 meters. So intensity is rising, the volume is decreasing. And then I'm going to do these sessions for, I'm going to do this distance a couple of sessions, and then I'm going to do 90 meters, let's say 6 times, and then probably like 100 meters maybe 5 times, then maybe, I don't know, 120 meters maybe 3 times, 140 meters 2-3 times, and after I'm gonna do 140 couple of times. I think this is going to be the I'm not going to increase the distance any further until I'm going to be ready to do my PB, which hopefully is going to be about 180 meters. It's probably going to be like the video calls they wrote to 180 meters, but let's see, maybe it's going to be 177 because this is going to be the end of the pool. So let's see, 180 or 177. So guys, what is the goal of this type of training? You can call it hypoxic training, especially when it's going to be like 80 meters or maybe 90 meters. However, I'm not really big fan talking about hypoxia tolerance. I don't really understand physiological point of such training. I'm not really sure that we can accustom ourselves to the low oxygen. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I never like argue on this topic. However, like I in particular like to do this type of training for, you can say, for the mental toughness. Because doesn't matter how much volume training you do, you can do like a long sessions with a short interval, but in your head you still know, doesn't matter how hard it is, like your CO2 tolerance, I mean you have like a lot of contractions and it's like really hard table, but you know, like when you start your dynamic, you know, let's say that 40 meters after you're gonna come up and do at least a few breathe in, breathe out, right? So mentally it's kind of easier because you know it's gonna be short. However, when you're ready to do long distance, let's say in my case like 170, 180 meters, then it's going to be mentally hard. Let's say if I'm swimming 70, 80 meters and then my contraction starts, and in my head I know it's going to be 100 meter plus, so like mentally it's going to be kind of hard to still keep my composure, to still be relaxed, to still execute correct technique, to still not be affected that it's going to be a long way to go. And this is what I mainly train on such training. So for example, now I do 70 meters, it's relatively easy for me, but let's say I start feeling discomfort after 60 meters. So the whole goal of this swim, I'm not that much focused on the technique compared to my volume training, like I try to do like normal technique, but not really focused. But my goal is to be relaxed and execute the same technique even when it's get harder. So let's say when I turn and now I'm swimming the last 11-12 meters, I really like scanning myself to make sure there is no overtension, that my streamlining not compromised, my kicking is the same, I'm not trying to speed up, I'm not trying to finish the distance faster, I'm not freaking out, etc. And this is what I'm going to do on 80 meters, on 90, on 100, because it's really important to keep your composure the entire dive, right? So you need to train this. Otherwise, if you're training only like a short distances, then this is going to be the point which you are missing. So this is for me. Again, I'm not going to argue with anyone if you don't agree, if you're thinking that hypoxic training is important because you need to train your low oxygen tolerance. I've heard this point many times. I don't want to argue about this. Maybe these people right, maybe not. But I, in particular, do this hypoxic training to prepare myself like more mentally. So it's like, for me, I call it like mental toughness training. Like I want to be completely everything under control even when it gets harder. As I said, at this moment I don't do this training often because I'm more focused on the training volume, more like on technical part. So this is why at this moment I do 3-4 volume sessions and then one session like more intense. But over the next months it's going to be changed, and so like probably somewhere from the middle of October or maybe from November I'm gonna start doing 2 volume sessions, 1 intense session. And then probably in December, which is hopefully going to be the last months of this training cycle, probably is going to be 1 volume session, 1 intense session, 1 volume session, 1 intense session. And by that time I think the distance is going to be 100 plus meters. Amount of repetition is going to be not that big. I'm not going to make the session really small. Let's say, of course, if you do, let's say 3 times 120, you can do it like in half an hour. I'm not going to make my session half an hour, but then it's going to be some easy technical training. So maybe I'm going to work on my turnings, maybe I'm going to work on the beginning of my dives, etc, etc. Okay guys, so this is the intensity training. On one of my next video about my training regime, I'm going to also talk about which swimming exercise I include in my training, because as I said, my breath hold training I try to keep it under 1 hour. However, if I'm not teaching in this day and if I can make my session longer, then I do like to include some swimming exercise, and on one of my next video I'm going to share what exactly I'm doing. And one more guys, one more thing, my old GoPro recently leaked and died, so I'm planning to buy the new GoPro 10, and I'm thinking to include some kind of underwater footage of myself training in this kind of vlog. So let me know if it's gonna be interesting or not, because I don't know, is it interesting for you or not to watch how I'm swimming underwater? So let me know in comments if you would like to see also underwater footage from my GoPro. Hopefully I'm gonna get it next week. Okay guys, thank you all of you who watched till the end. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate your time that you spent on this channel. If you want to support it, don't forget you can click the like button, you can click the share button, and if you do it, I really appreciate it. So thank you for watching one more time. See you next time.